Hello and welcome back to HR Stew. My name is Regina Dyerly.
And I'm Holly Nels.
And this is HR Stew.
Welcome back to HR Stew. Today we're breaking down the secret language of HR, those phrases we use to sound professional and polished, but often have a hidden meaning. Whether it's job postings, performance reviews, or company culture buzzwords, we're pulling back the curtain on what HR really means when they say things like, we're looking for a self-starter, or this role requires flexibility. Get ready for some laughs, some real talk, and maybe a few uncomfortable truths about the way workplaces communicate. Today we're joined by Shelby Evans, an HR business partner here at BDHR. Welcome, Shelby.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome back.
I'm back.
And I should say rejoined by Shelby. All right, so let's start out with a question. What is your favorite and least favorite, quote, HR vocabulary?
I think we had a unanimous vote that our favorite is pay raise.
No, my favorite word in general is allegedly.
That is your favorite word. You use that a lot.
But close second would be pay raise, pay increase.
Promotion would be a good one too. Goes along with that pay raise in a lot of instances, unless you're getting promotion without a pay raise, and that's just crazy.
It
More
happens.
work. It does happen. Yeah.
Excellent on your performance review. Everyone likes to get that.
Very true.
What's another one? Another one could be the investigation has been completed.
That's a favorite for you. Well, I guess that's what we're talking about.
I don't know if that's like a favorite phrase, but once that is all completed and you're done with all your legwork, just the thank you, it's done.
Satisfaction.
Yes.
Work completed.
What's our least favorite?
My least favorite is definitely hostile work environment, and that's because no one actually knows what it means. Not nobody, but it's often used when someone is bothered or doesn't agree with something or is inconvenienced by something, and not by the true definition of hostile work environment, which is a severe or pervasive form of harassment that interferes with the employee's ability to do their job.
It's like, oh, I don't like this situation. Let me just throw out this term, hostile work environment, so I get attention.
Right.
Sounds awful, but
It's the truth. Mine would definitely be at will. Although it is a legal term, it's used often by employers for a reason for termination, and that's not really the use of at will.
I agree.
a lot of managers use at will. I've decided yesterday I want to get rid of them. They don't have any documentation. We live in an at will state. Like,
Right.
Anybody can sue. I wouldn't say it's a term, but the thing that I hear most is when managers will call, I want to terminate this person for poor performance. It's like, okay, what kind of documentation have you had? What kind of training? What kind of one-on-one conversations? Nothing at all. And it's, how are they supposed to know that they're not, performing to your expectations if you don't have a conversation? I think that's a pet peeve of mine too.
It's also a huge liability for the, for the employer. And
Also poor management.
well, that too. Absolutely.
All right, so today we're looking for some translators, but not bilingual translators, people who speak HR. So I'm going to go through some different terms that are commonly used by HR people, and I'm going to have you translate what they actually mean. So the first segment's going to be about job postings. So translate and let's discuss these terms. Maybe say whether you like them or dislike them. The first one is, quote, in a job posting, we're looking for a team player.
Means we want you to do an incredible amount of work without complaining, and you're going to cover for other employees.
When someone drops the ball, you're going to pick that up.
You're going to take direction without complaining or questioning it.
We don't want you to be selfish.
Buyer beware.
All right, the second one is fast-paced environment.
You're going to be running at the speed of light from the time you clock in till the time you clock out, and even sometimes later.
You're going to be drowning with zero support.
Yes.
Would you guys consider that like a red flag, green flag? Is that kind of a...
I think it's a little bit of a red flag for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, why are you needing to advertise that in your job
Right.
description?
If it's like a first date, like, pay attention to what they're telling you and believe them.
The third one is must wear many hats.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is like we gave you this 4-page job description with multiple bullets. Every day you're going to have to take care of those bullets. But then also, if someone's out, you're also going to have to take care of their job while they're out and be able to do multiple other things.
We used to have 3 people doing this job, but now we have condensed it into 1 job. And so you'll be doing the work of 3 people, but we're only paying you for 1.
All right, next is looking for a self-starter.
I may be partial, but I don't hate this one. Like somebody who can come in and get started on the position or get started on tasks and not have a ton of questions and just dive in and really take ownership.
I mean, but that's what you hired somebody with experience for, right? So, like, to me, it's like, we're going to, drop you in and we're not going to give you any training or structure and we want you to sink or swim, I think it's a little bit of a red flag as well. I understand. We want people that are independent. We hire people with experience.
Right.
And we pay people for experience because of that.
Right.
Yeah. I think on a joking end, it's kind of like us saying, I don't want to hold your hand.
Right. Don't bother me. I'm busy.
Would you guys consider that one a red flag or green flag? I mean, Holly, you said you don't mind it.
I don't hate it.
I think it's a pink.
Yeah, it's okay. I think there's a better way to rephrase it maybe nowadays, but it wouldn't totally make me hate the job description.
On the red side of beige.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, last is competitive salary.
So I'm going to say this. We see that terminology less in Colorado now because people are required to list the salaries, right? So before, we used to see that a lot, right? And it's like, well, if it's so competitive, why don't you tell us what the range is?
Right.
Yeah.
Who defines competitive? Is that me or is that you?
I mean, they're lowballing.
Yeah.
Right.
I always think with competitive salary, when you see that, it's like, we really need to fill this position, so we're going to be willing to pay. Or it's like, hey, we know what our competitors are paying and we're saying, we're better. Why don't you come over here? We can pay you more.
Right. But if you have a competitive salary, then list all the benefits, list the salary range, and
It is interesting that in Colorado that like some employers, even though we have the Pay Transparency Act, they'll still put in the benefit section competitive pay. It's like, well, or competitive salary. It's like, well, yeah, obviously you're listing that. Why do you keep putting that in the benefit section? I don't know. Maybe it's just to give like a range of, hey,
they
maybe
just
for
didn't
the
update
future.
it from before.
Maybe, yeah.
True.
What terms in job postings are your deal breakers?
We might get to it at some point, but the whole, if someone's describing their business as we are a family,
Absolutely.
that one's a big red flag.
Yeah.
I think that's a red flag across all of our HR peeps, right? I mean,
I agree.
yeah.
I think
this
I
is
saw
a job.
a meme
not a
somewhere
family.
that said you wouldn't fire your family. Well, not in most instances.
It's like, what do you require from family? Undying loyalty and all, just
Right.
things that are not appropriate in today's workplace.
Right.
And there's always a favorite child in the family. So
I did, yes. Well,
baby.
That's corporate America too. But I did see an ad. This was a long time ago, but it stuck out to me, and it was saying that they needed people that were thick-skinned, and I just thought, well, that's alarming.
It's very alarming.
Like, what are you saying to people that you need them to have thick skin?
Right.
It's like saying don't be sensitive.
I don't like the work hard, play hard thing.
oh yeah.
What does that translate to? Like, do you have a ping pong table? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Oh, and the other thing that I really don't like, it's definitely like a trigger for me, is when people will use words like, I've seen actually like LinkedIn posts with that in the bio too, like saying they're looking for like a guru or a ninja. What's the other word that they use? A rock star. That's, I don't, that I'm like, no.
I'm not a fan of rock
I'm not
star.
an HR ninja.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Or a rock star.
If you actually apply to that job and you get an interview, I hope that person shows up in a ninja costume.
So in that, what are some of the most misleading job postings that you've come across?
For me, the most common one is when you're looking at the job description, and if it is in Colorado or one of the states that have pay transparency and is showing the pay rate, and it's saying it's an entry-level job, and then you're looking at the experience, and they want like multiple certifications and 5 years of experience, and it's like, and that happens like a lot. That's not entry level.
Right.
That's like mid-level. They're just saying that so they could pay less, but the job description, the duties that they're responsible for, and the amount of experience they're requiring is not that. I would say that's my number one.
I would say the really short job postings, whether it's like at the employer's discretion or maybe they just don't know how to write a good job posting. But when you get those ones that it's like very brief of come work here, here's 5 bullet points of what we want to do and what we expect to you, and then the pay, and that's all you kind of get. I feel like if you are willing to apply to that, you don't really know what you're fully getting into, because oftentimes they're probably not going to have a full job description made for you when you get there. And so it's like, what is this job actually going to entail? And so I feel like that on an applicant end might actually turn away people from applying to it.
Mine's those job postings that have the salary range from $60,000 to $250,000. You're like, there's no way. Like, where would you fall based on years of experience? Just that big range, because they don't want to actually put the dollar amount that's the most misleading to me.
Yeah.
That is. I would say another one that you do see a lot is you'll see positions posted that are part-time and it says could be full-time later. And you're reading the job description, you're like, clearly this was a full-time position that now they've moved to part-time, but all the duties are exactly the same. So there's like 40 hours worth of work that they're condensed into 20.
Right.
I think that's something that we see for sure. And then one last one that I have that you see a lot more, especially when some of the cable companies were hiring a lot in town, where they would have positions listed as customer service, but it was clearly like a cold calling or a sales job.
Oh, yeah.
So the title would be like customer service associate or client success, associate or whatever. And then you're like reading the job description and it's like, their job is fully like talking people out of canceling or something. Like that is not, that is part of customer service, but
a lot of insurance agencies are still like that, where they like advertise it as you're going to be either like in a customer service or entry level role with them. And you're clearly going in and you're doing all the sales and trying to add on to people's services and stuff. But it doesn't really fully explain that when you see the job advertising until you get there.
Right. I applied for a job it was my teenage years. So years and years and years ago. And they called me in for an interview, and I go to this interview thinking, okay, this is my opportunity. And I go in for this interview and I'm in this room with about 20 other people, and it's about door-to-door sales. And I'm like, if I would have known this, I would not have driven the 45 minutes for this interview. And it was just a complete and utter waste of my time. And it was so misleading and I was so aggravated.
Yeah, that would be out of
Yeah.
So next we're going to talk about performance reviews. So here are some terms. Let's translate and discuss. First is you're a strong contributor.
I interpret that like, you do your job well, but...
All right, next is we'd love to see you take more initiative.
We wish you would read our minds.
Remember us looking for that self-starter? Yeah.
I take it as I want to really discuss a few things, but I don't have the heart to have those difficult conversations during your performance review process.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next is let's focus on professional development.
That would alarm me if I heard that. That would not, it's like, you're not where we need you to be. That's how I would take that.
You need to develop professionally and let's...
Right,
yeah.
or that's what I would mean if I said that, but I don't talk like that.
Here's some trainings, here's some webinars.
Note to self. No.
All right, and lastly, your efforts haven't gone unnoticed.
Like, we notice you. We think you're great. But if you left, like, you're replaceable. That's how I take that.
Yeah, that's another but one. Like, we see you working hard, but, then show me the money.
I'm like, define what efforts mean. Give me some more context to this.
Yeah, is it just like a blanket statement that you're throwing out there because you last minute filled out this person's performance review?
Yeah, and you're trying to add fluff to not be so mean.
Mm-hmm.
What are terms that sound innocent on the surface, but make your stomach drop when you hear them in a performance review?
Well, speaking from experience, this was a long time ago, but getting feedback like you need to look at the bigger picture. It's like, well, get me out of the weeds, and perhaps I could see the bigger picture. I remember feeling that at the time. It's like I would, so.
I feel like anything that's going to make my stomach drop isn't like a sound innocent. It's something that's negative that's coming towards me. If my gut intuition's like, oh no, what did they just say? One, I could be reading it wrong, but two, most of the time, then you're like, oh, like, okay, what's really going on here?
Yeah, I agree. That would be mine too. If I am not doing something that would allow for the organization to grow or for me to grow, then that would make my stomach drop.
I would say the word but.
Yeah.
It's the number one thing. It's
When
like,
you
oh, this
say-
is going well. And you hear, but. You're like, oh, man.
The moment I learned that, like anything before the word but doesn't count anymore once you use the word but. You know how hard it is to say things, though, without using the word but? It's
You can
like,
use however.
It's the intent, though.
However.
It's the intent of the but.
Yeah, if it goes, but.
So, on a more serious note, then, how can HR and leadership be more transparent without causing unnecessary panic, trying to give direct feedback?
I think in general, not just HR, but I think always explaining the why behind decisions. I think people want to know the why. I want to know the why.
I want to know the why.
And I think sometimes, just information's just conveyed and people don't understand. And when people don't understand, they jump to conclusions and bad things happen.
Right.
Right. So I think another one, we talk about this a lot internally, but it's communicating proactively and not reactively. Mm-hmm. Right. So staying ahead of things. Because once it happens and then you're kind of catching up, the reception is never going to be as good.
And I think giving somebody clear feedback on what they're doing wrong and what they're doing right, instead of sugarcoating things or, blindsiding somebody 6 months later and saying, oh, you're not doing your job. I think that brings me great panic when somebody's received a 4 out of 5 review, overall performance review, and then the employee 6 months later, they're like, we want to terminate them. Where was this conversation 6 months ago or 3 months ago?
Right. Well, yeah, exactly. I would say also, since we're on this topic, to avoid corporate jargon, right? Like, don't, be throwing, we need to, optimize workforce efficiency. Don't be doing that stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, everybody sees through it. You're not fooling anybody. You're not sounding any smarter. Just speak in plain words.
Be personable when you're filling it out to that person, not just clearly you gave a blanket review on everybody on your team.
Right.
If you're coming across collaborative on, okay, let's focus on professional development in a way of like, where do you see yourself going or where do you want to grow? Here's some things that I've also seen that I would love to see you do better or want to see you in trainings. Like if it's a two-way street, I think it's...
Is this only about performance reviews we're talking about and just in general? I was framing mine in general, not in relation to performance reviews. I think another thing is to always encourage two-way feedback, right? And then don't get mad at what you hear, and if you can keep it anonymous, do that. Give people the freedom to feel like they could actually be honest with you. That's how you improve.
Right.
Right. But we've had situations where we've had clients ask us to do surveys and then they're upset, at the feedback. It's like, did you just want the good feedback? It doesn't work that way.
Right.
All right, so the last topic is going to be workplace culture. So the first one's going to be something that we've mentioned already. We're like a family here.
I think all of us sitting at this table despise this word equally.
Yeah, that saying.
We're not a family. This is an organization. You're here to build a business and revenue and all of those things and come to work, do your job, and go home.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
I think, look, it could be more than that. And I think it is more than that here, but we're not family. I mean, I do think how we perceive that, is in a negative way because we've experienced it, right? We've all worked at multiple companies that use that verbiage. What we're thinking it means is, and I said this earlier, but it means, that we're expecting unconditional loyalty, long hours, an emotional investment that is not being reciprocated in actuality. So all that with none of the benefits of an actual family.
Right.
I also feel like sometimes like employers will use that as a blanket term when it's like, we do appreciate each other. We do find like joy and collaboration and like we care about one another, but we can describe that without saying we're like a family. I don't know why it always has to be associated to that saying.
And the family, because so many people have dysfunctional families, doesn't always mean the intention of what they want it to mean.
Right.
Right. Yes. So people should just stop saying it.
I agree.
Unless it's a family business.
Maybe you say, we really care for our employees. We want them to succeed. We want everybody in our organization to be successful and to grow instead of we're a family here.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the next one is we encourage work-life balance.
I despise this term too. It seems like it's overused. It's just overused.
It's a buzzword.
Yeah, I need a work-life balance. And what exactly is a work-life balance? You're hired to do a job 40 hours a week, ideally, and then you go home. Is that your work-life balance? Do you need unlimited PTO? What defines work-life balance?
I guess I'm going to go with, I feel differently about, I think it is overused. And I think a lot of companies use it, especially in job postings, to sound progressive when they're not.
Right.
Right. Like, so I absolutely understand what you're saying and I agree with you, but I guess I like the verbiage for myself because it's something I'm always trying to achieve. Right. Like, so there's been quite a few New Year's resolutions that was kind of my resolution, was actually to have that balance, to be more present at work and in my actual life. And how do you do that? It's by achieving that stuff. To me, and I think for us, we talk more about workplace flexibility.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so if you have an appointment in the middle of the day, or if you have to do a pickup, if you have to do it, you know, I mean, like, do what you need to do. To me, that's balance.
Yes.
Right.
You know, it's being able to run an errand in the middle of the day and not having to do everything on a Saturday, you know, or a Sunday.
Right.
You know, so yeah, I think it is grotesquely overused, and usually for companies that don't mean it.
Right.
Yeah. I think it's what you just said before. It's something that should be used personally for yourself, but not how a company describes themselves.
Correct. And also, you know, we encourage work-life balance is putting the ownership on the employee. Like, that's on you to figure that out.
Right.
It truly is.
All right, next is we're undergoing an exciting transformation.
Now, this is a red flag.
It's going to be chaotic for about a year to a year and a half.
It's chaos here. It's chaos here, and it probably is not going to be a good outcome for you.
Just run now.
And lastly is we have an open door policy.
But do you really have an open door policy?
And do people feel comfortable coming in your door to have a conversation? I think you can have an open door policy all day long, but do they feel comfortable enough to go to the CEO and have that candid conversation, or go to their leadership team to have that candid conversation?
So at my last company that I worked for, the CEO there upped the ante on that, and he said, "We don't have an open door policy. We have a no door policy." And that was not true at all. And, you know, and I think it's unfair to say things like that, because an open door policy makes people think, well, one, you know, that it could be a therapy session, especially with HR.
Right.
And yeah, we're here for you, but that's not our role. And this is a whole debate about HR, right? Like, it can be used against you, like, depending on what you're telling me. Because even if you tell me something's confidential, I'm not your lawyer. You know, I'm not bound by, if I feel like it's something that could endanger the company, endanger other employees. And I mean, there's asterisks there.
Right.
Right. Like, and that's why HR gets a bad reputation. But it's literally us doing our jobs. And that's protecting you usually too.
Yeah.
You know, at the same time. So I don't know. I'm not a fan of the open door policy thing. I think it's ridiculous.
So have you ever worked somewhere that really lived up to these phrases?
I'm obviously biased, but I do think we really try to live the things that we have decided are our mission here, right? And some version of these things, not these things exactly, are there. I mean, we don't call ourselves a family, we're a team. But no, I would say no. As far as any other company I've worked for, no matter what the impact or what my role was or how much seniority I had or influence or whatever, authority, I would say no. I've never had work-life balance before. The expectations were always extreme, and the expectations on myself too, right? Open door policy, I was lucky to get an audience with certain people, you know, based on their schedules. And the exciting transformation has happened several times.
Here.
And here too, because we went through a major migration. But we didn't sugarcoat it like that.
No, we were like
almost too honest about like, well, we're in the middle of a software migration and it's been hard and we're behind. And so, yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever worked at a company outside of Vita that actually lives up to this. But I think it's also a lot of the companies I worked for before didn't even really focus on workplace culture. I think we were so focused on like the business and keeping doors open and keeping customers in that really wasn't a focus. And if it was, us employees, like we never had any buy-in on it. So yeah, I would say no.
And the irony of that obviously is happy employees or employees that feel good about where they work are going to keep your customers happy and it's going to help your business. So
right. I worked for a company in my early 20s that all of us got along really, really well. We hung out outside of work. Granted, it was my early 20s. So we hung out outside of work. We came in, we did our jobs, we worked really well together. And that was an amazing team that I got to experience. And some of my best friends now I met them at this place of work. So
Was that a happy coincidence that it just was good people that they hired, or was that because of the culture? Or was that the phase of your life?
I think it was the phase of my life and the people that worked there. And I think it was just a happy coincidence because when we would get in a new leadership or a member of management, it shifted and adjusted the culture at that time. But it was probably 2 years that I worked there and worked with the same people. Nobody left. Everybody stayed.
Having good coworkers is literally everything.
Yeah. And I think that we have really good coworkers here too. We all genuinely
Agreed.
care about each other. And if I have issues or complaints, I can always call you, Regina.
We try not to hire jerks,
That's
right?
fair. Yes.
So then lastly, what's the best or worst company culture phrase that you've ever heard?
So I don't know if it's still their slogan or whatever, but Uber's used to be, or is still, I'm not sure, always be hustling. Yeah, I was never a fan of that. In New York, back in the day, if you worked for two companies, they could always say you could write your ticket anywhere. You could work anywhere. And one at the time was Goldman Sachs was one of them, and Deutsche Bank, who I did work for, was the other one. And Goldman Sachs had an unofficial, it was leaked. Their slogan was, work until your eyes bleed.
Oh,
wow.
That sounds very late 90s New York, though.
Yeah, people working 100-hour weeks. They were getting paid, but still.
Still.
Yeah.
All right, so next we're going to go to Ask HR, where we go to the online forum where people ask experts questions and get answers. So this comes from user OccasionSad6642, and the title is, Employee was informed of PIP via team email, now being called out in Teams meetings. It reads, my offers hired consultants to improve our processes. They meet with our managers regularly and hold stand-ups with my team a few times a week. Zoom meeting notes are automatically generated through AI. A few weeks ago, after a meeting with our managers, the consultants continued the Zoom session for the stand-up. The notes sent out afterwards included details from the manager meeting, revealing that a coworker was placed on a performance improvement plan, PIP. This was embarrassing for them, obviously, but it seemed like an honest mistake at the time. This morning, however, the consultants played my coworker's call, criticizing every aspect of it, and asked the team to also critique it as well. The atmosphere was tense, and they repeated a few times that they would meet with the coworker individually to work on improvements. While I didn't have an issue with my coworker's performance, I'm concerned about how the consultants are treating them and what that means for the rest of us. I initially thought the notes leak was a mistake, but now I'm not sure it wasn't intentional. So we don't have an HR department. My boss's boss hired the consultants, and my boss was present during the stand-up, so it seems like they condoned this behavior. If I were to report this, I'm not sure who to contact or what to say. It doesn't seem illegal, but it feels definitely unprofessional. So how can I protect myself from similar treatment in the future? And is there anything I can do to help my coworker?
Wow. That's a doozy. I mean, I think first we have to acknowledge the fact that they didn't turn off the meeting.
Right.
And I mean, the AI generated notes go out automatically. We see that. But that is like a chef's kiss of dysfunction. Like that is just completely inappropriate. So I absolutely would also question about whether or not that was by accident, especially based on what happened next. That's the first thing. The consultants playing the employee's call is so inappropriate. Like, I can't even imagine I would be horrified. Like, how embarrassing is that?
Agreed.
What is this, some kind of sick, twisted reality work performance show? Like, making employees rate, give feedback? Like, why? Some of those employees certainly are not even probably qualified to give feedback on that, maybe that specific issue. I don't know. Like, public humiliation is not a performance improvement strategy. That's really in poor taste. So obviously these consultants are not the Bobs, for everybody that's seen Office Space. Not the Bobs. I don't even know what advice to actually give him, because it's like, you know what, you better start documenting everything yourself. You could use AI. I would definitely talk to your boss. Look, actually, if a lot of people were bothered by this because this happened in a large group and you could all go to your boss, more people is better than one person going, right? So group consensus is like, hey, this is really highly inappropriate. I'm not comfortable, we're not comfortable. That would be better if everybody's willing to do that. But I don't know. I would definitely be polishing up my resume because
that was going to be my suggestion. Start looking.
These consultants are doing what they were told or whatever they agreed to or whatever they presented that they're going to do.
Right.
So somebody above signed off on this behavior. And the fact that the boss was in the room and wasn't saying anything, I don't know. It could mean that he doesn't have a choice either, but it could mean that he's party to it.
I would definitely polish up my resume, and maybe that's what you can, the advice that you could give your coworker. Start polishing your resume.
Yeah, and if you're going to stay, and part of the question was, how do I protect myself from similar treatment in the future? If I feel like you have every right, if you were put into that meeting or that situation, to say like, I'm not comfortable, I'm not participating in this. If you want to discuss this in a separate meeting, like I'll do that, but I'm not going to sit here and partake in you critiquing me over performance in front of all of my peers when they should not be here.
Yeah.
I feel like they have the right to say that.
Would that be a hostile work environment?
They may have a case for that. Look, this is public shaming.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. At its finest, public shaming.
That's not cool. That's like putting it lightly.
You and your coworker just need to go find a new job.
Yep. I wouldn't want to work at a place that just did this in front of everybody.
Be each other's references.
That's all the time we have for today. We want to thank Shelby for joining us. Thanks for coming, Shelby.
You're so welcome.
And of course, thank you all for listening. If you enjoyed your time with us, please subscribe and leave a review. If you have any HR stories or questions to share, message us on Instagram at hr.stew. I'm Holly.
And I'm Regina.
And we'll see you next time on HR Stew.